Well, that was a great break, but now it's time to get back to work, so let's get going. This is the last of the 4 frames now, so I'm going to get the clamps off of here, and I'm going to set this aside for a minute, and we're going to lay the legs out here and get started in assembling the basic garden bench structure. So let me get this out of the way, and I'll be right back with the legs. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got the first of our back leg set. This is leg set A, and I'm going to position these out here like this. If you don't have a big enough workbench to assemble this, you can certainly do it on the floor. Just try to do it on a level place. This is the piece that goes across the top in the back, and use that to kind of get the positioning of this set. And we'll drop this in to its slot just like that. And same thing up here. There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to put this middle, which is actually the top of the bench. We want to put that in next. And you'll note we still have our little diagonal braces on here, so that's keeping these assemblies together and square. Yeah, that fits good. And then our bottom shelf. Now this is just the dry fit exercise, just to make sure everything's going to go together okay, and to get an idea how we want to do this. This one's a little tighter. There we go. And this one's pretty tight. Yep, that's good. There we go. And there we go. Now, again, from this direction, these 2 units are square. Distance-wise, these 3 will assure that side to side we're square in this direction. So the only thing we'll need to be sure of is that we get it square this way, and we'll do that as we go through the attachment process. Now let me zoom in here and I'll show you how we're going to attach these. So here on this bottom shelf, we're of course going to put some glue in here, but if you'll notice, this piece is 3/4 inch and this is almost 1.5 inches. It's 1 3/8 inches, but we have space right here. And we're going to be able to run 2 screws in here, and we'll use the exact same screws we used in assembling this subassembly here. Up here on this shelf, which is actually the top of the workbench, we can also put 2 hidden screws here, and they'll be under the top for the worktop of this garden bench. We could put a screw out here, but it would be visible, so I'm just going to depend on glue out here to hold this. If I need to clamp this down to pull it up, I'll do that, but I'm going to put 2 screws right here. And then in our top piece, I'm not going to use any screws, I'm going to use just glue, and I'll clamp this in place until the glue is set up. So that's the procedure for assembling the pieces to the back of the legs. Get that done, and then we'll get the 2 front legs put on. Okay, unlike on the frame assemblies, I'm not going to pre-drill the holes and put the screws in right now. We'll have plenty of time to do that. First thing I'm going to do is get the glue in and get everything squared up. And I would normally use a brush to get this glue up on the sides of these slots, but the last time I was doing a glue up, I forgot to wash out the little brush that I use, and it had to go get thrown away. So I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to get this spread as best I can, and we're going to put some glue in this slot, And then I'm going to put some in the corresponding slot on the other end. And by now I'm sure some of that glue has soaked in down here, so we'll just dab on a little bit more. Make sure we don't starve this joint. Gonna get some squeeze out here, because I want to make sure we get plenty of glue. And if I didn't mention it before, make sure that if you're building this for an outdoor bench that you use a waterproof glue. I'm using Tight Bond 3, which I've had good experience with, so hopefully that'll work out. All right. Now I have this side, this leg, flush with the edge of my bench, which is going to allow me to clamp this side into position. Make sure we get that nice and flush. Then I can come over and start putting screws in this end. And again, I want to make sure we're flush with the end. And I'm going to put these in at a little bit of a slant to make sure we catch the meat of the leg. Go. That looks pretty good. Now, I need to put a clamp here, but I'm not going to be able to do that right this minute. So I'm going to go ahead and get the screws in. Whoops, get the screws in over here on the other side. All right, now with that piece secured, I'm going to go ahead and put this top piece in, and we'll just use clamps to hold this one in place. All right, I'm checking for square now, and that looks good. As long as our centerpiece is square with the two legs, then the other two assemblies should wind up square. So now it's time to put in this last piece, which is the shelf. Whoops, which is the shelf support. And I'm just going to lean this over here for right now. And we'll get some glue in these slots. Time for a little fine adjustment here. There we go. Well, let's go ahead and get screws in this one. Okay. All right, now the next step is to get the front legs attached. And they're going to go on just like this. So we can get some glue on this. And then after we get the glue on it, we'll clamp those down. And we'll make sure the entire assembly is square. Now these are going to get hidden screws as well, but we can hold off on that for a few minutes. That's tight. Guys wanting to slip out of place. All right, this next leg should be a piece of cake. Everything should be perfectly squared up. All right. Okay, that's it. Now this is last chance Texaco, so you want to make sure now that everything on the assembly is square. And you should also check the square here again, just to make sure nothing's come. Yep, we're good. All right, so I'm going to put a few more clamps on. We still got some screws to put in, but I can do that after the glue sets up. So the main thing I'm going to do right now is just clean up any squeeze out and put a couple more clamps on, and then as the glue sets, I'll put the rest of the screws in. And then we'll be ready to stand this up and get started on the next stage of the process. All right, so the glue has set up for close to an hour now. I've got the rest of the screws in. I've got the clamps off, so now it's time to set it up on the floor because the rest of the work on this bench will be done there. And I'm just going to try to use a little leverage here. Fortunately, it's cedar, so it's not terribly heavy. There we go. Ah, and it sits pretty level, considering my floor in my shop's not perfectly level. Well, 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 I like it. I think it's coming out pretty good so far. There's still the second one that needs to be assembled, and as I mentioned earlier, building two of these takes very little longer than building one. But I'm going to go ahead and get the other frame glued up, And then in the next video, we're going to work on our shelf down here and the top of the potting bench. And we've got some tricky little stuff to do there. It's going to be fun, so I look forward to seeing you in that video. And as always, I really do appreciate you watching this one. Take care.